What up everybody, ATO the Outsider here with a fresh new concept for today. I got a show called Use That Pokémon. If you've ever been in contact with Pokemon, whether you loved it, whether you liked it, whether you hated it, probably thought to yourself, what if Pokemon were real? What if they were actually in our society? Everything from the cute and cuddly to the massive and monstrous. What if Pokemon were real? What if they were in our society? Would they mainly be used as pets? Would they be used in our workforce? Or would they just be so monstrous that you just can't put them in society? Well, those are the questions I want to answer in this show, so check it out. So I guess the best way to start this show is with the starters. So let's start with the only starter that matters, Bulbasaur and the Bulbasaur family. Bulbasaur, he has a plant on his back, and he's got these short little stubby legs, and he's a grass type Pokemon. The best place for him to be is in the garden. I think Bulbasaur has a lot of different tools that can be used in the garden. Everything from the vine whip to reach things, from razor leaf to trim things, and I guess you can use any leftover leaves to make a compost or something like that. The data entries for Bulbasaur and Ivysaur mentioned that they like lying around in the sun, so they're not extremely active. Probably wouldn't be able to pull tractors or pull machines or anything like that. Bulbasaur is pretty tough, alright? He's got some short little stubby legs, but don't let that fool you, okay? That solar beam packs a punch. Because Bulbasaur is just always soaking in light, waiting for that bulb to grow. That bulb has a lot of power. But ow! So any type of invader in your garden, kaput. Gangsta. Now let's move on to the Charmander family. Probably the last Pokemon you want in your garden. Charmander. He's bright, he's happy, he's cute, he's cuddly. You would love to have such a warm Pokemon just cuddle up with you. It's great. Until he reaches his teenage years and he becomes a total dick. So, Charmeleon. Really sharp claws. Of course, he's got the flamethrower, a lot of access to different fire type moves, and he's pretty tough. He's also small, so he can squeeze into different places. So I would say the best place maybe is a mining facility or some type of facility that requires a lot of heat. Metal working. You know, his claws are pretty damn sharp, so he can probably help trim some things or break rocks and heat rocks and all that good stuff. So that's pretty much it. I mean, if you had a Charizard as a pet, it wouldn't work out for you well. Charizard's data entry says that he's always looking for competition. They'll never fight an opponent that's weaker than themselves. So for that very reason, you probably don't want anybody who's gonna challenge your pet dragon. That's just a recipe for disaster. Also, if you don't have your Charmeleon or your Charizard tame well, they're gonna turn on you. You don't want that to happen. You don't want a bunch of people walking around with Charmeleons and Charizards that don't listen, because that's just a recipe for a disaster. The whole neighborhood is going to be in flames if Charizard is just tired of BS and just decides to take it out on the neighborhood. So a Charizard will be limited to special trainers who can properly tame to properly train them. You know, just kind of like Komodo dragons. No one's gonna just own a Komodo dragon. No one's gonna just own any reptile. You have to have somebody who knows what they're doing with the Charmeleon, Charmander, Charizard. You need somebody who knows what they're doing. Now let's move on to the last starter. So we got the Squirtle Squad. Squirtle, of course, he has that slick shell on his back, that curly tail. Okay, Bubbles, he's got Bubbles. I guess a bubble maker for a child would be the best use for a Squirtle. Now, as you saw in the anime, Squirtles, Wartortles, and Blastoise were used as firefighters. So they would, you know, rush in, put the fires out, and help save victims who were part of the fire. So I guess that makes sense. It depends on how much water any of those Pokemon can produce. Now, what's interesting is Blastoise can shoot water up to 160 feet, according to the Pokedex data entry. Now, the typical fire hose is only going to reach about 10 stories. So 10 stories, each story is about 10 feet. So that's about 100 feet for the typical fire hose. So Blastoise can shoot about 1.5 times that length, which is pretty damn awesome. The only thing is you're going to have to keep pumping water into Blastoise somehow to make sure they don't get dehydrated or what have you. Me personally, if I was to pick one out of any of those three families, I would say I think I would go with Bulbasaur on this one. You know, Bulbasaur, like I said, real laid back, like myself, likes to chill around, help me out with my plants. My plants aren't doing too well, actually. Everything I touch dies. I would like to have a little buddy around to help out with that. Additionally, maybe it can help pollinate, you know, because Bulbasaur does have access to different powder attacks, so maybe that could help some plants around, because I'm a real down to earth guy, and I would like a Bulbasaur around to hold me down. So that's all the time I got for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you think another use can be applied to any of the Pokemon that I mentioned, let me know in the comments. If you guys have suggestions for what Pokemon you guys want to see, you can suggest those too. I was simply going to go in order, maybe bounce around a little bit, depending on what's in demand and what's not. Of course, I really want to get to things like Scyther and Alakazam and all the other generations and all that. So, you know, depending on what the demand is, I'll bend to that. But for the most part, I just go in order and see what happens. So guys, thanks for watching Use That Pokemon. I'm Ace the Outsider. See you guys later. Peace!